allegiance
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have an audience of citizens.
Can I address the committee?
You have absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Name and address, please.
I will, and I want you to have to take notes on this one, just, it's very quick, very simple, but I do want the commission to know the story. So my husband, this is Joan Veely, 1424 Orchard Road, here in Berlin. And my husband and I recently had a chance to get on a plane and take a trip out of town. And we filled out a vacant card, house vacant, please check when you can, to the police department. And we were really surprised, because on the 1st of January, at about 8:59 a.m., we were alerted by our ring cameras that somebody was in our backyard. And what we caught on video was an officer, and I do not know the name, but the officer went around to the back of the house. He acknowledged the ring camera, because it speaks to you. And then as he was going down to check the basement doors, he realized that the shepherd's pole with bird feeders were down. So he actually came back up, saw the shepherd's pole, uprighted it, fixed it into the ground, and then went and got the feeders that we got in the patio and hung them back up.
Oh, good.
And he sort of saluted at the camera and he went on his way. But I was telling the chief before the meeting started, what a wonderful thing. I was so impressed with the kindness of the officer, because there was, well, number one, we didn't expect an officer to go by the house, but number two, for them to actually take the time and right or wrong was just terrific. So I don't know who the officer is. I hope that you can find him.
What was the name?
The date was January 1st.
Oh.
And it was 8:59 a.m. And that's all I can tell you, but I just want to say thank you.
Great. That's very nice story. Thank you very much.
Guys, a great job. All right,
You have to write that down.
I will.
Okay, so we need to have an approval of the minutes. We had a special meeting on December 13th for the hiring of new officers. I would like to, anybody have any issues with those minutes?
I was excused.
You were, right, you were
Okay,
excused.
two of us to do it.
Yeah, it was, and so what do we have? We got,
We might have to wait till the next meeting unless Melissa shows up.
right?
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we put that to the side when Melissa shows up, we can approve that, and then I guess we have to do the same
Say
thing.
what the next time was.
Oh, jeez.
You were missing on this one?
Yeah.
You guys are.
Okay. All right, so we'll just defer those until Commissioner Uranaga gets here. Right, do we have any correspondence, Chief? Yes, we do.
I gave you some stuff. There's a letter from former Commissioner Echu. And a copy that I put together of an email that was been to all the boards and commissions for appreciation event coming up February 13th. And it was also sent to your emails too.
Very nice.
At the art studio
Where's that?
on Steel Boulevard.
It's right across from Hop House, right?
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
kind of Steel Boulevard.
It's pretty cool.
Been in to do the artwork.
I didn't do the artwork, but my daughter had a birthday party there. So she like escorts you on how to do it. And at the end, you have a really nice painting.
Yeah, it says, Chris had talked about this. You hadn't finalized it at the top manager's meeting, but we got this yesterday.
I was very impressed with, it's very clean, very nice, really nice lady. The kids got a kick out of it.
So, walking out there with some artwork.
I think I'd like, just for the record, presume that I'd like to read one of the letters in there. And it says, it has my name as being the chair on this particular one, but I think he addressed one letter to each and every commissioner. And it goes, Board of Berlin Police Commissioners and the Berlin Police Department. I have been a Berlin Police Commissioner for many years, and I am proud to have served for the citizens of Berlin in that capacity. Thank you to all of the commissioners who give up their time serving the police commission. Chief Matt McNally and his staff work hard having new officers of good character, quality education. Chief has made many good changes in the department, including a successful police cadet program. Our secretary, Joan Beely, has always gave us great minutes at each meeting. Because I am no longer live in Berlin, I can no longer serve the commission. Thank you all for keeping our visitors, student residents and shoppers safe. Respectfully, past Commissioner Paul and Esch. Thank you, Paul. Very good. Would you best? Commissioner Uranaga.
Good night.
Thanks. We need to approve minutes and we need to be part of that. We're gonna double back and do that.
I'll go to the minutes.
Okay, well, we had two meetings. We had a special meeting on December 13th for the hiring of new officer.
Next motion to approve the special meeting minutes of December 2024.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we had the regular meeting. Then we had the regular meeting on December 18th of 2024. Are there any issues or corrections or deletions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
You second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Use myself from this. Not being.
Very good. Okay, we're gonna move on to old business. It's police renovations, and that's a verbal update.
So there, right before we came upstairs, we're walking through their cleaning, their painting, there's still some minor things that have to be done. There's more work that has to be done. And but they were planning on having us in there for February. I don't think that has changed. They're gonna have much there's some things that
their schedule for a punch list date.
I have not seen the schedule. That would be to the Public Building Committee Commission anyway, so. It's just, they were in there today cleaning and they were finishing the Valley Fork area with some work in there. But myself, Lieutenant Martin, were just down there, we came up here and looking around, this is some stuff that definitely is standing out like piece of the mold, investing, stuff like that, but it, it's
For the most part.
project, yeah, for the most part, it's, I would say it's 90%, 95%.
Lieutenant Martin did take the time to walk me through there a couple of weeks ago, and I was very impressed. It was the first time I've seen it. The other commissioners. Yeah, but it's worth taking a walk through.
Yeah, no,
Okay. I'm sorry, that was one of the big
I know,
things, I
no.
need some equipment in my gym.
Yeah, and they've done a good job, but the critical part will be to keep it rolling, because otherwise we're left with a whole bunch of unusable space.
No, well, I did run into some on the Berlin
BBC?
yeah, and they indicated that they were gonna be moving forward as soon as possible.
That's what I've heard, that's good.
yeah,
Good, The rest of it was not a big ticket item, it's mostly just,
small stuff there.
moving some walls around this.
Right. So it's nothing structural.
Well, the
Not
second
compared to the
project.
first
has
part,
some
first part
structural
was
changes, but not as dramatic as this first project.
Right, no supporting walls and any of that.
Maybe in the front, the original plan, open up the front where that display cases and put two doors in.
Right.
Open it up so that it's, yeah,
I think that's a great idea. It's now you can walk right into which is the, front area. We can have access for
Yeah.
a conference room or whatever, where the public can walk right in. It's like we
Yeah.
move from here down to there.
Right,
Yeah, we can make sure they include money for FF&E for this one. We don't have any money for furniture, fixtures, and equipment for the current project.
there's nothing.
Yeah.
Well,
We can't afford furniture for an entire.
I'll reach out to Don Lombardo again. He was one of
Yeah.
the second. So we have the
Communications,
system verbal update.
so, Motorola says that most of the equipment is in, they're still waiting for some parts. Along with the communication system upgrade, I met with the school superintendent as part of our monthly meeting, myself, Lieutenant Jones and communications supervisor Tom Farr. And because they have cameras in the school system that we can see, but they have the software, we don't have the software, so it probably works much better at the school than it does for us. So we had a meeting, our monthly meeting, we brought it up and the superintendent and Schmaltz, that they're gonna try and, we're hooking up their IT guy with our IT guy, Oscar Espinosa, to try and get that software in at the same time that they're gonna do the communications upgrade in the dispatch center. And we'll need to get, another screen because we'll have access to over 100 cameras. But what they have a system over there with the software that as somebody moves through the school, the cameras pick them up, whereas we have to go to find the camera, then we have to get out, and we have to go find the other camera. So we don't have that capability right now. And that was just a discussion we had 2 days ago.
Oh, so their camera system will follow motion, so if somebody walks in, wow,
It's
that's,
called footprints. So that's called a footprint where it follows.
can they forward that function to you guys here?
Well, that's why we need to get the software, but. Mr. Benigni says that if there was money involved, he would help out with that and with the tool for the software. Because they want us to have that, we want to have it.
A few years ago, the state offered a grant to dispatch centers to pipe into schools cameras. So I don't know if that's still available.
For what?
4 or 5 years.
Is that for mutually,
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so we don't have mutual.
Um,
I think that grant was specific to mutual.
It was,
That's
yeah.
the problem,
yeah,
whatever reason,
I was involved in it.
yeah, Berlin didn't jump on that. Oh, my, that was before me.
I wonder
It
if
was
the software
just-
is still has it still.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a different software program.
I didn't have a
Dispatch
master
were able to
system.
see live camera feeds in the schools and meant to deploy rapidly to get.
Well, somebody was walking through the hallways.
The
Or
problem
even like
was.
the case of pictures.
Well, that's all part of our upgrade, that we'll be able to have better radio communications.
We're okay in the high school with the new system, but we're we're probably gonna have to put a couple
He's
of
always been a problem.
meters
Yeah.
in McGee.
Closer.
They're like mini phones.
Yeah, they are. So, and the mutual link. The chief used to be the chief, and so he calls me once a month, but he wants to sell me a product. Without, of course, without a brand, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Thanks.
Moving on to new business. We have a special event crowd security chief's attachment. Number 5.
So, after the events of New Orleans. I thought that, it would be apropos to really look at, because we had the issue with the big crowd last year, and then one of the things that, our big crowd event is the fair. So using that as an example, but it's not just the fair, we have other events like Memorial Day Parade and other things too, that we should probably look at our setup when it comes to making sure that these areas are blocked off. In the past, there was a little bit of pushback from the Lions Club about putting some of the barriers and stuff in front of the gates and all at the fair. But I think one of the things that we need is that really, we can employ a couple different options, which are listed in here, some of the technological stuff. A lot of this we already do. There was a couple things in here, like maybe getting VW to have some trucks out with sand, use the trucks as blocking devices. Move some of your Jersey barriers. We have Jersey barriers, and there are actually some out of the fairgrounds too, but they don't like this. They don't like the look of it coming in where you check in and all. Not gonna be. When we have our security briefing for the upcoming year, it's not gonna be, hey, you guys think you could do this? It's gonna be a, hey, you will do this. So just give you the heads up that I'm gonna relay back on this and say, this is why we're doing this, but we are gonna do this. We have got to start looking at these things. Can't have that whole mindset of it's never gonna happen here. And we've got to be prepared. And we know what happened in New Orleans. I mean, the police car, and they had a lot of equipment that they didn't use, so. Not casting any blame or anything like that down there, but I don't wanna have that problem. Plus, we look at our crowd control situation, and you know, we're still looking at how special events need to be done differently here. There's been a few changes, but not all the ones that I recommended. Creating like a special events committee and we're doing more oversight, but you know, I worry because the pickle festival's not coming back here, it's going to Mohegan Sun this year, so, and you know, sometimes when you say, okay, that's not coming here, so we just let it go now, but we shouldn't let it go, we need to be on top of this. So that's why I wrote this up and inserted it, there is some other things that we're looking at along the lines of, you know, it's a wake up call whenever you have a terror event. The farther we've gotten away from 9/11, Americans have short-term memories, and then all of a sudden something happens, and we jump back up to, okay, we gotta get to the whole mindset of homeland security. So, you know, some of the things that we're doing right now downstairs is reviewing some of our areas that might be critical infrastructure, key assets for us. And you know, making sure our personnel are well aware. And so, well, we're pretty good because we're ahead of the training curve. Along the same lines, I was reading some of the bills that are being listed in the new legislative session in this bill that's being proposed for active shooter training. And we've been doing that since I got here, so we're ahead of the curve on that too. But this is more the physical hardening of targets that I think we need to really try and do more.
My question would be, are you gonna be getting Mike Ahern involved in this? Because his department probably would put these barriers in.
Oh, yeah, he's gonna have to be involved.
He's gonna be very involved.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I need to do too, and well, not just me, the fire administrator, the fire chiefs and your emergency management, that will gotta get on the same page. The emergency management director, Rich Cobb. So, we're gonna set up.
That's a new position within the last year.
No, that's
No.
he was there before I got here,
No, it was actually before.
Oh, was it actually?
so.
Very good. I
Yeah.
didn't know there was a name attached to that position.
Yeah, so, you know, it's something that we always say when I get around to it. Well, you know, we got a lot around to it now, so we gotta get it done.
So just, yeah, some of this,
Mhm.
the drone and aerial surveillance, we could either have that or we can borrow that from like other,
We actually have a couple sources for drones.
okay,
The National Guard has a whole program with a unit that we tried to get last year, but they were having a change of command for the fair. And it fell on deaf ears, but this year the commander's in play. Also, that criminal justice and protective services program at Prince Tech and Vinyl Tech, the ones the kids are running with their full-time 24-hour-a-day operation center, which is one of the best emergency operation centers I've ever seen. We have access to all that, and they would definitely come. They'd love to be there on the weekend and for the fair and all, and
And
work
provide
around the
support.
clock and provide support.
I'm just thinking the dollar cost to that sounds like it's minimal, things like closer.
The dollar course for that would be feeding them.
So minimal,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean.
Because
People's voice
we're
a
gonna,
lot, but.
we're gonna tie them in with the cadets, they're all pretty much the same types of groups, so. And that's something that we could do too, in fact, at the Capital Region Chiefs of Police meeting yesterday, they did a presentation there with their program.
Yeah.
The first wave of graduates coming out of those programs are now 21. So they're starting to come out for the jobs, so there's the gap from high school to when they hit 21, so we're gonna start seeing some of them as applicants here too.
And so some of this, like this, like presence and surveillance and closer to TV, those are things that we could probably also
Yeah, so.
utilize with low to no.
Yeah, well, you know, closed circuit TV today isn't like it was when you had wiring and everything else. You just go out and buy yourself some wise cameras, put them up in the lights and set it up with a phone or whatever at a command post, so you can operate from that. They're fairly inexpensive. You probably won't have sound. Like I
You have
said, I
some
have
with
sound in
sound.
my house.
Some-
I'm thinking I just got sound in my house, some sound. But you know, the problem with sound at the fairgrounds, pretty, so loud, you're not gonna hear anything anyways.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, these are all things that I'm gonna tell clients that I think we need to be prepared for, but we also, we're not set up to go get a drone, get somebody FAA. license to start operating a drone. The fire department has a drone. We used their drone a couple times this year, and they're more than willing to come out when we need them.
Which firehouse is it out of?
We've had them out for a number of calls,
Yeah.
missing persons, people in the woods, they've located for us.
Yeah, they have the infrared.
Yeah, they got the,
Clear, forward-looking infrared and all, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, that's something that we're, the problem with them for the fair is that they all are at the fair, so they don't,
yeah,
they have other assignments, so we'll get somebody, we got some folks that are outside on that. Pre-event intelligence gathering is,
And that stuff you guys were already, I'm just looking
Well,
like,
yeah,
things
we're
that you're
doing it
adding
now.
in, have, costs associated, or would we, like, with the idea of using close like TV is that from the new guys in the line, it's like, this is. To make the fair safer, you buy like 30 of these cameras.
well, yeah, we could ask them for that, I don't know, if they'll buy 30.
I don't know, I guess.
I mean, at minimum, I'm sure they're not that expensive anymore, you know? So.
Yeah, buy 5 of those.
Yeah, so we're gonna have that conversation when we have the meeting, probably. Sure, or something. Yeah, what is it?
I have some questions, as far as the flat cameras go, but I'm thinking I'd like to ask those questions in executive session.
Yeah, so I'm block cameras, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move on, that takes care of the new business. We're moving on to the chief's monthly report, chief. Have at it, please.
Pretty much the monthly report is a recap of everything that we were gonna do last year, what we got accomplished. There's one. I believe, or a couple that are still being worked on. But using the goals and objectives from last year. I think everybody did a phenomenal job down there reaching these goals and objectives. Because we had a couple things happen this year that wasn't on our bingo card, like the fire, bought our fire, and that took a lot of time away. And some of the remodeling downstairs with our interruption in communications, we had 4 days where the phones weren't working, we had the blackout and some computer issues because of that. The crowd strike. Issue, I'm looking for the right word to use, when CrowdStrike hit all the computers, we had big issues with that, but our IT people did a good job getting us back online in a fairly timely manner, but that interrupted a lot of our operations this year. I think at the last page, I kind of wrote a list of some of the things that affect us. The Pickle Festival, the Lions Club was bigger this year. We spent a lot of time on the spray feeds, thing upstairs. We've been involved with a lot of that. Our fire is a big deal, of course. We also had a visit for Connecticut OSHA, who came and found some deficiencies and us, but really was on the town. That's all been taken care of. Those kind of things that happen, things that you don't plan for. Some of our fatal collisions this year were pretty intense, and you have, you know, an industrial accident that ended up with fatality. I mean, those things you don't plan for. So when we last February, I gave you the operational goals for the department. And they were pretty, I think there was a lot of goals, a lot of objectives. And I think that I kind of did a little report card for myself too, and saw how we did on some of the things. For one day, we were at full strength. Manpower wise, that was one of our goals to check this last year. So we got it for one day, and right now we're in the process of interviewing and
How we doing
backgrounds.
now? We have any prospects?
I had a girl in on Tuesday, no, Monday, today's Wednesday, Monday, and I sent her right for the background. She looked good. So we're looking at 2 spots. And I had a couple come see me yesterday. I did like one of the guys, but he had some experiment drug usage about 5 years ago. When he told me his whole story about his father was dying from cancer. He comes from a cop and firefighter family out of New York City. He's a local kid. But I told him I'll let him know that I'm worried about, yes, and I worry about the backgrounds on all of them. So I still have some more interviews coming up. Then I will grade them based on the interviews. Decide, so I have one right now that I'm gonna work on.
It's good. It's better than not, Jack. I have a question, on the detective interviews on the first page. How do you determine this? I mean, how do you know how do you do that? What's your election process? It's number 116, it says detective interviews. Like,
They were done with I have a sheet with 10 questions that I use on all of them. They had to supply a resume, a letter of intent, and they had to come in and tell me the best cases they've worked on, the hardest cases, the ones that most likely would be something to showcase their skills as an investigator. And we had 3 candidates put in, and we've made 2 so far. And
so these 3 candidates have self-initiated for them to want to meet with the text.
yeah, we posted in the department, you have to have so many years, 3 years of service. And then that's it. And then my posting, I had some requirements, you know.
And the way I understand that is you being an officer, you get at least a 4-year tour in the detective bureau.
It's up to 6 years now.
It's up to 6 years. Yeah. Then you have to step back and somebody else gets what you would say.
Yes, except, we only have 1 full detective, everybody's an acting detective. And, the full detective position goes away when he retires. And then we'll get another acting for up to 6 years.
So they'll always
But
be
the
active.
youth detective is exempt from the 6-year rule. And we went from 4 years to 6 years, but if you figure it takes about 2 years of training and experience to make a decent detective. And then what happens is, you only get 2 years out and then they're going back to patrol. So
Was that a change we made or was that something that was done?
it was made in contract negotiations and the collective bargaining agreement. So that doesn't mean you get to stay there 6 years, because if you're not working out, then we pull you out. We just pulled somebody out after almost a year and a half. So
On to page 3, and I did have a question mark on full staffing, but it was for 1 day.
Monday.
It's not even, true for staff, it's just like 4 people on FTO.
Yeah, but number wise,
But
on a
number
piece of
wise,
paper, we were
Eventually, we'll.
at it. Yes, we are very, very close. But we have 2 that just went to the academy on January 3rd. And if we get somebody in the March, April academy, we're still looking at next February.
Yeah.
So you're
We're gonna have to go now, or you going, okay?
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. I've been told there's no concerns, everybody says we had one. Yeah. Yeah.
On intelligence sharing, your 4th page, your report, I was wondering if you share that from roll call to roll call.
Yes, not only are we sharing on roll call, one of the new detectives, who was our task force officer, met with me a week ago, because he was doing some intelligence sharing on his own, and now we formalized this, and our officers are getting a lot more intelligence. They're getting it through a couple different sources too, through their phones, through our computers, through our email. He's putting together reports and all that, and it's,
So every shift that starts is up to speed with a little bit of
yeah,
homework.
everybody in the department gets the intelligence from the intelligence officer.
Oh.
So from me all the way down to the.
Oh, this is an email that's shared through.
We have a couple different groups and stuff.
Yeah, but we do a roll call and the sergeant goes over pertinent information at the beginning of every shift as well.
To double down on it.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
But we're putting out, just in the past week and a half, far more intelligence than we were getting out probably for the holidays. There's also been a change on the state end of it too. CTIC's putting out more information. They're doing a daily briefing now. I don't know if you've seen that, but I'm getting it every day. So that's going out. So there's probably a change there that made, yeah, I don't know if it was because of NOLA or if it's just something that was the works. For a while, we weren't getting a lot there. And I also get stuff from Washington, D.C.
Do you really?
Yeah, so now I kick it over to my intelligence officer that disseminate certain parts of it. Some of it just goes to command staff, some of it goes to the rank and file.
You know, a lot of that information that the Dick is passing around too is coming from Flock Info.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're a little behind the curve on that. We have put into the capital budget to move forward with that Flock stuff. A lot of those hits are coming from Flock around and we're missing the boat on that a little bit.
So there's been
We're getting
more
them from
actually stolen
surrounding.
cars down in Greenwich area, and those cars are being recovered up here and in the Greenwich and stuff, so. We're getting that information, we're getting, flock camera stuff, or whoever's got surveillance cameras, we're picking that up. He's putting it out, so officers can see, you know, the usual issues with plates and stuff like that, so a lot more information's going on.
I noticed on goal 3, it's called task force assignment. And I found this interesting, so with anticipated staffing levels increasing with many new hires becoming certified throughout the year. It is my goal, and once staffing allows, will assign an officer to a statewide or EPA narcotics task force. Having personnel assigned to one of these task forces would be instrumental in expanding our resources to respond to and conduct narcotics vice operations to curtail criminal activity as present within our jurisdiction. We have done and green. I think that's great.
Yeah, we have a task force officer, and
Yeah.
once we get a couple more people on the road, we're going to partner up with the.
You can get us up to 48.
Yeah, we get the year right
Ultimately
away.
50, then that's the stuff you can do.
Yeah.
When
I
you
don't
got
know,
it.
how's that going? Did we get a?
That brings in
I don't know,
money,
but when I got the budget.
Put
like,
somebody on the EA task force,
but that's,
It'll
Yeah.
bring
like,
money.
there's motivation, cause.
but we just right now, we just, you know,
And we
you
definitely
gotta have,
somebody on
you gotta have the staffing to do it.
Yeah.
Everything goes down to staffing.
That are having.
There's operation divisional goals, goal 2, I found interesting that, identifying training opportunities for staff and leveraging ability for this to match. Personnel with career advancements, training opportunities, this will create a more diverse and effective workforce. Readily address the problems and concerns of the citizens of Berlin. Yeah, very nice. Who does what?
Well, we post things and then see who's interested first. And then we try to match them to their skill set and their talent. Because I can have an officer put for every training there, this way he's never on the road. She's never on the road, it's training, right? But are they using, are they bringing stuff back? One of the big things that we've been doing is having our officers go to, trainer classes so that they come back and then they can actually spread their training knowledge in some of the areas. That's why we need that class. That
Yeah, well,
project too. And then we've increased, really getting information out to our personnel to try different things. Try and go to, different assignments and training that might be out of their comfort zone. You know, one of the issues with retention is that officers come in and after 5 years, they feel like they're not doing it. You know, we're not a place that's big, we don't a lot of things. So 5 years,
Get
in
bored.
6 years, they get bored. So now we want to try and cross train everybody to something you like. So say I'm interested in crime scene work, well, then we're gonna try and make you an evidence technician too. But then you've got to tell me that's what you're interested in. So I've been fortunate because a lot of officers, when they came to see me, I was in those meetings back in early, end of summer, early in the fall, whatever. When they came in to talk to me about their lives and everything, I wrote down notes about every person, what are they interested in? So I know I have some people that want to be SROs in the future, some people that want to do prayer. Some of our younger officers, we don't do anything with them because they need to have so many years in before we start walking with certain. Well, you gotta make sure that the training is commensurate with who they are, with the experience facing.
Do they understand that so that they don't get, disillusioned or disappointed?
Well, I make every opportunity and effort to put stuff out, talk to them, and say, hey, listen, if you're interested in this, you know, we'll make it happen, because I'll tell you right now, on January 28th, I will have completed 43 years of law enforcement. The only reason why I am still in law enforcement is because I was fortunate enough in my career to do a bunch of different things. So every time I felt like I was starting to get bored, just either I asked for a change, which didn't usually happen, because that's not how policing works, or something changed and I ended up with a different assignment, a fresh perspective, and I think that's how we retain our officers.
That leads into goal 3. It says work collaboratively with the command staff to create a plan of succession for the agency based on the age and tenure of many members of the supervisory staff. Is anticipated that after July 28th, substantial number of supervisory staff and officers may elect to retire. Holistic approach to preparing the agency to continue operating in a seamless and efficient manner is contingent on preparation for the possibility of staff turnover. So this could be a challenge.
This is a challenge, and this is when we wrote this last February, it's a bigger undertaking than, you know, we were kind of anticipating. One of the things we want to do is in the next month, 6 weeks, whatever, definitely within the next 2 months, I was hoping that we could get together with, a meeting with the police commission, the town council and the finance board. And of course, it's something that we have to have, we're working on a succession plan because 2 or 3 years out, on this July 2028 date, right now, we have 12 people that could literally just go, say, okay, I got my pension out. If you lose 12 people in one day, in our size department, it will be paralyzed.
It's catastrophic.
So we wanna,
We
do
have
a presentation and all with everybody, but if you forget, if we have all the stakeholders and the decision makers in the room at the same time, they hear the same presentation. So we get away from that telephone, he said this, and I think he said that, or whatever. No, we want to do a full presentation and say, hey, look, this is what you got coming. We're gonna warn you that you got a tsunami coming, that people could leave.
You want to do it once and done, or do you want to do it?
Well, I
One day
think,
about multiple conversations.
What's that?
yeah, but I think that we want to do it once with everybody present.
At least.
Yeah, at least once. Then you know what's gonna happen. Then people are gonna say, well, I want you to come back in front of the town council, or I want you to come back in front of the finance board, or can we talk about this in 2026? Our ideology is that we're not making moves in 2026, and that's only a year from now. 2027 is gonna be upon us. It takes a year to make a copy. And that's if everybody comes in and passes their backgrounds and everything else. So we've got to start planning. We might have to think about making more cops. Or getting more cops. We're not doing too well with the laterals. That's another story we'll talk about in the executive session. But we're not getting that group. But we can't wait until, I don't know if 12 people are gonna walk out on July 1st, 2028. But if 5 people walked out, we see what happens when we lose 2. It crushes us. So if you had, say, 6 out of the 12 leave, and we know there's people that are definitely gonna leave, because some of them are only staying here because of the pension plan with the 5-year caveat that they could not leave. That was the trade-off to get the pension for 5 years. And I've had officers tell me, July 1st, 2028, I'm out of here. Well, that July 1st, 2028 date might be them actually leaving June 1st because they have accumulated time they got to use before the July 1st date. That would crush us too. So we've got to try and get ahead of the curve on this. And whether it's me or somebody else, they're gonna get handed that. It's gonna be tough. So we really have to start thinking very progressive about the future in that respect.
It's, if 12 are eligible, it's very rare that all go, but I think history probably says about 50%.
Yeah.
So even 6 is something that needs to be prepared for.
Yeah.
So,
And I think with the 6, especially just looking at, you know, kind of where everyone lies, if it's like top 6 ranking. you're leaving.
Well, that's the other end of it.
Because I think that.
The
looking at
majority of
where
people
everyone lies is
are gonna
like-
be your institutional knowledge,
Yes.
upper command, supervisory, the people at the top who have all the time.
Well,
It's actually 17. Because there's people that are in the old pension that are also eligible.
Yeah, I wasn't
in that
counting.
timeframe. So if you really look at the real number,
like me.
But that being said,
May I remember your
we have to make sure that we have
Absolutely.
people that are qualified and have their time at the patrol level or whatever. Patrol officers moving into sergeant's position, sergeant position, lieutenant positions, and somebody going, lieutenant's going into deputy chief position, someday your position, whatever happens, we have to be ready for that. So it's incumbent that we do this now.
That's why I wanna do this
There'll
this
be
year.
some statistics on that that can support the argument, so like. I know just from my experience in law enforcement, 50% are eligible on a certain day, 50% go. Then you have your 5 or 10% that stay there for like 40 years. And then everyone else kind of sliding scale somewhere in the middle, so like, we can maybe find out, get any details on that, that'd be a good.
We hired a fair amount, we had a big block of time where we hired a fair amount of laterals. And those laterals, a fair number of those are waiting, they actually extended their time out because they wanted to get the pension, so they're staying to the end of the 5 year. We know for a fact some of them are going.
Yeah, I've had,
Part of the problem is the 5 year vesting stops normal attrition. So people,
It's gonna be a big wave
it's
instead
a,
of trickling out.
right, it's a
gonna be
big
right.
wave because there are people that would have already retired that now have to wait.
and I agree, it's usually 50%. I think it's gonna be more this time. I would be surprised if 75% of those
You know,
numbers actually.
maybe when we all meet with the Board of Finance, the town council, get your finger on the pulse of who's eligible and kind of get a.
Yeah.
Kind of gauge, like, hey, you think it's going or not?
Well, we've been doing that already.
Well, we know who's eligible,
Yeah.
but like really, yeah, what I hear you saying is like, are you actually gonna leave eligible?
Well, it's a good argument for preloading the roster too. So,
Yeah.
Because if we know out of 17, 10 are saying they're definitely going, then at least we need 10 to kind of.
So next
And
month,
how can we start, this is just me thinking ahead too, right, like, because we're losing, like, say, 10 is the number, this might be easy math. 10 is the number, and of those 10, 6 are ranking officers, what, how do we start getting some of that training
well,
and transfer?
so next month's report, which I've already got done, pretty much, talks about our goals and objectives for 2025, 26. And in there is a section I have to address that too, which is really getting more officers who, let's say a sergeant, who says, well, I'm happy being a sergeant. Well, guess what? We're gonna start sending you to command level classes. Because if you're still here in 2028, there's a good chance you're gonna get a command level position. So instead of waiting to get that position and then say, okay, now I gotta go learn what I gotta do, we gotta get them ready for that. Part of this, the equation, a variable in the equation is that some of our personnel, our young personnel, now are saying they do not have a desire to do anything more than what they're doing. But who knows in 2 years or 3 years what's gonna change, because we all know what variables change, you get married, you get divorced, you have kids, you buy a house, all those things change. And then all of a sudden you find yourself, if you're saying, well, I was only gonna do this job for 25 years. Or 20 years, and guess what? That 20 years goes by quick, right?
Now I have a kid in college,
Yeah.
I don't wanna give my ex-wife. the pension.
Like I maxed out my pension where I worked before here at 32 years, but I stayed there 37 years because I was comfortable in my job and I was paying for college and kids,
Sounds great.
you know? So that's the great equalizer, kids are the great equalizer, but when you don't have kids and you're talking about down the road, or, you know, you don't see that, you don't see, hey, where is the economy gonna be? We don't know, we don't have that crystal ball. What we do know is that we have to plan as if the worst can happen.
Right.
Every time. And that's what we wanna do.
one last thing on your report that I noticed was going in services. Says to continue to integrate training officer position with support services division through roll call training. Completing training records transfer into cert assistant and scheduled training officers also have the training officer move into support services office. Position has been, in parentheses, position has been redesigned and is now designated as community accreditation training. Officer position, cap parentheses, and this position is embedded in support services division. Have you chosen somebody to do this?
Yeah, when I wrote this report, that decision wasn't made, it's been done. And they start on the 20th. Thank you, Sandy.
She's been involved in that past.
Yeah, she's been filling, she's been doing a lot of stuff on the side for us.
So will that be an inside permanent position for her?
Yeah, of course, the position, that whole concept added more duties to it, too. You know, like more community policing, more different stuff, but, you'll see in the goals, there's also some changes gonna be in support services, we're gonna invigorate that.
Right, moving on to the patrol operator division, Lieutenant Martin, just happens to be here. His report on the patrol staff and employee recognition and so on and so forth. Would you like to make any comments?
The only comment I would like to make is just bring your attention to the DUI. We've seen a lot of DUI enforcement in the last month, and it's been continuing. Actually, Officer Clark got it all last night. The officers put a lot of emphasis on that. They get working hard with this.
Good. How are we doing with certification on the breathalyzer? I mean, how many of our officers are certified? What happens if an officer isn't certified and they pull somebody over? How do we handle that?
We're all certified.
Yeah, everybody has.
Everybody's certified.
Also,
Every-
you gotta redo it every year.
Yeah.
We have someone that redoes it.
Yeah.
Five DUIs for the month, that's pretty good.
Yeah, they're filling it.
I did that, but six.
There's page 4, there's enforcements here.
Yeah, so typically December is usually a slower month for traffic stops and stuff, but, I just have to make a point, like, some of these numbers are a little off. Not gonna name names, but, how many shifts are there a month, 21?
Some of these people that are on the bottom of the list are your FTOs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or not,
All right,
so they're not gonna show as the primary officer on anything being able to prove.
yeah, some of them are sergeants as well, right?
Right, so there's a couple of supervisors at the very bottom.
Like,
You know, Bolak obviously is an inside person. Jeff Veach has been out.
yeah,
So he's low, he's typically not. O'Leary, Griffith, Clark, Skinner, they're all FTOs.
Slappy,
She's.
She's an FTO as well, yeah.
Griffin's at sergeant.
Dosky's an FTO, yeah. Griffin and Kelly are both sergeants.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, cause I looked at it and it's like, we've had some really good pickups, cause the brand new officers are the only ones who are at the top, and then everyone else is trailing off. So that explains it. December's a slower month generally.
Generally anyway, but everybody below Yang
Yeah,
are FTOs.
yeah, but Yang is new as well, right?
Yang is new.
Seven's a
He just
little
came
low
off
for
the-
It is, but they're also trying to get him to do every call they can get him to do. So
He's currently on FTO.
he's
Oh,
currently,
got it,
he's
got it.
currently on it, yeah. Yang's
He
on
does with
FTO.
the FTO.
Scott's on
helping
it,
to do
Scott,
it.
right.
Yang,
Yeah,
Yeah, so Scott's on FTO, yeah.
Yeah, like, don't take for a single second, I want tickets, I don't care if it's warnings, but, you know,
No, the visibility, I'm with you.
yeah, the visibility is
Yeah.
huge, you know, a lot of people have been saying they notice cops out there and it's a good thing, so we're trending in the right direction, I just don't want it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take my foot off the gas.
Okay,
No.
awesome, thank you, I appreciate that. The new people have been crushing it though.
yeah, some of these new people we got are really, really good.
We have the marginal summary by customer, we're with overtime and that sort of stuff, but any of the commissioners have any questions there? So on the back to pages. Back to three.
The last page,
Well, the last page is the last page, it's not the overtime, but it's
Oh.
a monthly, but back from the last page.
yeah, the overtime looks like it's on par for what it's been the past couple months, right? It hasn't been significantly more than that.
No.
Yeah, we're,
Seem to be trending in the right
we're
direction.
doing, with all the hits we've taken in our budget, we're doing. I'm frankly shocked that we're as close as we are.
Yeah,
It's our
that's all
50%. There, yeah.
So when these new guys get off FTO, I'd imagine that's gonna have a positive impact on
Yes.
us all the time as well. I just, Mr. Chair, if you wouldn't mind, can I ask?
Absolutely.
So the last page, whenever you see a 450% increase, that always piques my interest. So it's theft from vehicles, which is interesting, because usually in the winter time, this kind of stuff slows down, so. what are you seeing out there?
We had a night where
Oh,
they, where they came through town and hit multiple vehicles in a night. I think
Yeah,
there was 7 or 8 cars that were entered. And that doesn't necessarily mean that things were stolen. You know what I mean? But yeah, they were in them, they rummaged through them, you know, they take change or, you know, a pair of sunglasses. So that's really what spiked that,
yeah.
because we just had a bunch of juveniles one night that were, I assume juveniles, but
You
that's
see it on
typically,
ring.
that's
Community
typically
ring.
who does it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then from our meeting for last month, I asked the patrols to be increased because the neighbors were asking if I'm still now.
Yeah.
And
You haven't
I've
seen 'em?
personally seen a bunch of
Yeah,
them.
we
Okay.
can send it.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome,
I
because
sent
a lot of
people
people are telling me, now everyone's saying like, what's going on, why are they, like, you asked for them? Yeah. Now that they're hearing you, getting nervous. So thank you.
I listen.
Yeah,
All right, we're gonna move
I
on
appreciate it,
to,
thank you very much.
we're gonna move on to the investigation, Division Lieutenant Solik. And we have, also a report on page 4, juvenile, detective. Kevin Chasey is 4 pages in. Anybody have any questions there? How's that going with, Detective Tate?
Well, you know, JV's been a superstar because we were short 2 detectives, so he was doing the juvenile stuff plus all the general investigations too. We've got 2 acting detectives now new. Besides him, so it's good because he's got some stuff going on in a couple cases right now that are probably gonna be pretty complex. And, as far as juvenile crime goes, so, it's a relief valve to have the 2 new acting detectives. One of them's Green, who's our task force officer anyway, so he's already doing some of that work. Now he's doing a lot of it, and then this the other the detective just starts on.
Any of the other commissioners have any questions on that?
With respect to the youth, when I read the report a couple days ago, and it just goes back to your goals and objectives, a lot of the officers have been walking through the schools. So I just have to commend the department on that, because you know, showing your face, knowing the layout of the land after the district emergencies.
And that's a twofold thing, because we got all these new faces too that we have working,
Yeah,
they need to learn the schools. They
Yeah.
need to learn the footprints.
yeah, so I thought that was good.
Thanks.
Okay, we're moving on to Lieutenant Michael Job's report. Police Support Services Division. Have any, I see on, Kalia, year 1 review beginning with January 3rd, 25. I guess there's tiers. with
Yes, there's 4 tiers.
that. Where are we at?
We're on tier 1 again.
We are.
Yeah, we just, the assessor sent me an email on Friday saying, you know, send us our finalized report. So for a week and a half or so, I just want to go all the files.
This is the first year of the 4 years, which is
Right?
the most work. Yeah, it's all done at Power EMS. And we just finished that 1-year assessment and everything was good.
Yeah.
So we're moving on to year 2 now.
It's always continuing.
Department of Statewide Emergency Telecommunications, parentheses, DSET. No expiring certificates this morning. Any emergency dispatchers? Well, this or
No. 7 of our dispatchers are actually certified training officers now for dispatching.
how many?
7.
Really?
Yeah. That was, you know, I think that was one of the goals from last year too, was to create more CTOs involved.
And I noticed the intoxilizer instructions, so we requested additional intoxilizers with instructors due to vacancies. We have slots scheduled with state about in January 25. So they'll handle all our needs.
That's the instructor level so that they can train the other officers.
They can
and
come
make
here and
sure that-
train?
Yeah. Our officers here will show other officers and make sure that they stay current, because everybody has certified, and then also, be able to manage the equipment. Which is a big part of it.
Lieutenant Martin wants to throw something. Right. That's what
everybody comes out of the academy, intoxilizer certified, and we need instructors to just recertify. on an annual basis.
So once they leave the academy, they're certified.
Yeah.
So it's just keeping that
Annual.
fresh and up. Gotcha.
If any of those leaving has to be a reserve officer, I forget what they're.
Yeah, voted on that.
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, Brandon will go.
He's one. And,
Green, was it Curtis Williams? Is he gonna do it?
no. No, it's going to, Westfield.
That program was not intended for brand new cops.
No.
It's for people that are
Didn't get allowed.
seasoned employees or are retiring.
So,
10 years plus kind of thing?
yeah,
After. Thank you, sir.
Looking for
Frank,
just a
let's talk
few
about
remote
that.
jobs here and there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. He's only been here a few years. It was
Yeah.
actually less than 2 years from the time he was certified. But that, he's going to his own town.
If I could make a request and subject to the other chairman's approval, the commissioner's approval, on the second to last page, it's off the head of the list and itemizes the waivers, and we're up to 71,000 year to date, so I propose, and if you all agree, maybe we can add that as an agenda item to bring up when we do the joint meeting with the Board of Finance and Council.
I agree.
That's something to be explored. Perspective,
Our budget.
Yeah.
Putting a cap on it.
Cap
What they
or
can-
whatever they propose. But at the end of the day, like, there needs to be some sort of understanding.
So when do you think that meeting might take place?
trying to get it in February or beginning of March.
Is that something you can make note of, Commissioner?
Yes, that's okay. And that number will
I think it's
probably
Thursday.
grow because it ended on 11:30.
We need to make motions with them? Go for it, right? Whatever
On
goes-
the record,
For the record?
make a motion that we meet with the town council, board of finance, and the police commission staff, commission and chairman, commissioners, sorry. And we add as an item on the agenda, the private duty fee waivers.
A second?
I second with the amendment of the discussion of how to implement. No, that's not the right one. I'll just send it. I second. You can't my amendment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. That takes care of support services. Then we have operations reports, the deputy chief. Would you like to speak on that?
So Commissioner Miranaga asked in the past, if I could just give you an idea on what we get for donations every year. So last year, I looked into our 2023-2024 fiscal year. And canine donations were over $7,000. We used that for food costs, medical costs for the dogs, equipment that they need. We also received a donation of over $10,000 to transition one of our cruisers to a canine car. We have another supplies account that people donate into. We got over almost $4,000 in supplies we can use to buy things for the officers. We also got another $500 in the cadet program for last year. This year so far, just this year, canine donations are at about $1,500. That doesn't include a $10,000 donation to buy the new dog for Mr. Budnick. So we have quite a bit of money for the new canine.
Is that what this is?
Now, this is,
Oh, that's
I just wrote these down
Oh.
in my spreadsheets, it's not in there. In the supplies account, we've got about $6,000 in donations. Some of that was specifically donated to buy a particular piece of equipment for our weapon systems. And so some of that was put in there just for that. The cadets, they did a car wash, they rose over $2,000. And then for the cadets this year, we've had over $860 in donations. And I have money sitting on my desk. Somebody, Sergeant Flynn came in today and handed me a check that somebody gave to him for the canine program for $500.
Really?
So People donate quite a bit of money and that's what we use to pay for the canine program. We don't have a budget for canines. All of that's paid through private donations. So like I said, we already have the dog funded and we have the money to switch the cruiser over to canine cruiser. So all that money is in place. We're just waiting for that to be able to.
And we chosen a third officer for the.
No, well, what happened was, we've had a training from the, we're gonna do with the state police, but they wanted me to send 2 officers' names to them. So that if one officer, the dog's fine, but if the officer couldn't finish the program, he had to have a second backup officer. And we didn't have a second officer at the time. And, Williams, who just left, was one of the 2. So we're gonna have to repost and see who,
He was,
but we couldn't make that class.
he was
We're
aware
gonna
of
kick
that?
it off to the next K-9 class now.
Was Williams aware of that?
Yeah, he was aware of it.
Program is very difficult, a lot of running and
Yes.
screaming, it's your typical.
Didn't keep up with the dogs.
Running 4 miles a day. and-
Yeah.
With a dog.
Yeah.
The sergeant wasn't worried about the K-9, he was worried about the
No,
Yeah.
officers.
There's no picnic.
Yeah, they're screaming at you, it's over. And
Thank you for that.
you're getting beat by dogs.
Oh, yeah.
And I told my
So
husband, too,
the next class,
it was approximately $12,000.
we will have somebody
Right,
ready.
that feel right.
But you gotta have
That
2
we're getting
names.
information.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the reasons why we.
Just for the canine alone, we
have
got
officers that wanna do it, but they didn't
$20,000 in
agree.
donations. That doesn't include people donating to food and everything.
Sometimes
Okay,
people go
I
there
was
and
just
they
glad
say,
that
you know what, I really
you
heard
that
this,
knowledge.
I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why,
I'll
you know,
cover
the
donations. We'll
the
pay
first
for
couple
all
of
the
days,
medical expenses with
that,
donations.
they're counting on you being there the whole time.
According.
What do you do with the dog? Well, we gotta go with something else.
Apparently.
All right, we're moving on.
It's all,
Yeah.
it's all right.
I apologize.
No, it's all right. Okay, we're, looking at the overtime budget, it looks like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just printed it out.
what's the deal?
He printed it out. I didn't read, done it the way he did.
These two match up?
Yeah.
So we're still, you got a bounce?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, you're not, thank you for your time, appreciate it, everyone. Yes.
Have a nice time.
Tonight. Night.
Thanks.
Okay, so, it looks like we still have 54.7% left in our overtime budget, is that?
No, we're.
No, we have a 48, we have about 48%.
Right.
Then up to the.
Well, 48%, so we're already going into, I was looking at this.
Yeah, that's to the end of December, so, I mean, we're almost right at the 50% mark.
Yeah.
And you still gotta bear in mind that the recommendation from the finance director was 750,000. It was cut back 100,000, and even with that, we managed to stick to only spending about 50% of that.
So
So
we requested 750
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
and they gave us 650.
Right,
And they waived 71.
Yeah.
And we have 71 grand, yeah.
This is more current, so.
Yeah, this one's more current because we've done today. We've done it a week ago.
yeah, I was on vacation, and he sent this after I left, so I couldn't, wasn't able to print it, so.
And this doesn't include the new prospective officers getting off FTO and mitigating over more.
Right.
So basically, we get, do we include, well, January is only halfway, so January, February, March, April, May, June. End of June, so we've got
6 months.
well, 60
You
more
know,
months,
halfway.
we're halfway.
In an ideal world, if you were to make it perfect, it would be exactly 50%, I mean, give or take. 2% differential.
Ooh, that's where that 71 grand that you took.
Right. And we got those 3 guys on FTO right now, so.
Yeah.
That'll mitigate some of that when they get out.
We'll-
And honestly, we
right.
cut overtime really to a minimum. A lot of the overtime we've been spending is on unanticipated stuff, like filling the dispatch, extra
It's
dispatch.
only supposed to be a month.
The officers that had to be out with surgery for 4 months.
Fire.
And it's fire.
Fire and almost 40,000 in dispatch overtime because of the renovations.
And what about Pickle Fest? Was Pickle Fest part of that too?
It was like.
That was fairly minimal, but yeah, we did spend it.
And then the Hawthorne fire with.
Hawthorne Fire, you know, the key with that is that it'll be 2 years from now. Or maybe even longer after what's happening in California before we get reimbursed.
The Hawthorne Fire was almost $20,000 in overtime costs
Do you
and another $6,000 in equipment.
I mean, that,
Equipment, what do you mean?
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
FEMA pays for the cruiser.
Gasoline
Not like
miles.
breathers and stuff.
no, not like that.
It just amazes me what we had to go through to put that Hawthorne fire out. I can't even imagine what they have to go through in California.
Yeah.
26 grand back.
Can't imagine.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, right around 26.
All right, so the last thing is the freedom of information log. Any questions here? Question?
Short list. Probably for December.
Okay, well, that takes care of that. We have, go into executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session, 7:35.
Second.
Second, and then we have the deputy chief, and Lieutenant Martin.
Okay. Let me know. Let me know.
So, and then we need adjournment.
I'll second that.
That's a second.
April 5, I'm gonna be on the road.
Alex is the
Did you go
third.
to Capitol Region, chief meeting?
Yeah.
How was it?
They had. The guy talk about the zero,